Pelvic Placement Principle explained. Pilates emphasizes stabilization of the pelvis and lumbar spine in a variety of positions. Two positions most often used to achieve stability are neutral and imprint. In neutral placement, the normal curve, slightly convex anteriorly of the lumbar spine is present. In most cases, when supine, the triangle formed by the ASIS and the symphysis pubis should lie parallel to the mat. This is the most stable and optimal shock-absorbing position and a good place from which to promote efficient movement patterns. If the pubic bone is lower than the ASIS, an anterior pelvic tilt results. If the pubic bone is higher, a posterior pelvic tilt results. Neutral alignment should not be achieved by forcibly arching the back, but rather by allowing the weight of the sacrum to rest on the mat, resulting in a natural lordosis of the lumbar spine. While breathing and engaging abdominals in this position, no strain should be felt through the spinal extensors in the lumbar area. If muscular tension occurs, shift the pelvis slightly toward an imprinted position. It is more important for the abdominal wall to be engaged and the lumbar area to be stable and unstrained than for the ASIS and pubis symphysis to lie in the same horizontal plane. For example, someone with large gluteal muscles might actually create an exaggerated lordosis in the lumbar spine by trying to have the ASIS and pubic bone lie in the same plane. Imprinted placement refers to a slight posterior pelvic tilt with slight lumbar flexion. The normal curve of the lumbar spine lengthens toward flexion by engaging the oblique abdominals to approximate the pelvis toward the rib cage anteriorly. When supine, the pubic bone will be slightly higher than the ASIS. The pelvis is not so tilted that the sacrum curls off or loses contact with the mat. It is not necessary to press the lower back all the way into the mat or to tuck under by overusing the rectus abdominis or gluteal muscles, as this may decrease stability. The degree of contact between the lumbar spine and the mat will differ from person to person. An imprinted position should be used to ensure stability of the pelvis and lumbar spine if neutral alignment cannot be stabilized. When the load is greater than the strength of the abdominals, placing them in a shortened position will provide the mechanical advantage to maintain engagement and stabilize the lumbopelvic region. This will often be useful when certain postural tendencies are present. For example, lordosis. When the lower limbs are secure on the mat or other apparatus in a closed kinetic chain, the pelvis and spine are ideally neutral. Performing an open kinetic chain exercise with the pelvis and lumbar spine in an imprinted position will increase stabilization. Once enough strength has been developed through the abdominals to stabilize, a neutral placement can be maintained in an open kinetic chain. When describing the position and movement of the pelvis, we use neutral to refer to the spine, or pelvis being neutral in the sagittal plane, that is, no flexion or extension through the lumbar spine. Sometimes we may be laterally tilting the pelvis or laterally flexing or rotating the spine, but we still refer to the spine and pelvis as neutral as long as they are neutral in the sagittal plane. When looking at pelvic placement, we need to consider the relationship of the pelvis to the lumbar, spine, and hip joints, as different starting positions and movements will affect its alignment. Pelvic Placement Principle exercises. The following movements explain the principle of pelvic placement. Starting position. Lie supine, pelvis and spine maintaining neutral position. Bend both knees with feet flat on the mat, hip width apart. Arms rest along the sides of the body, palms facing up. 1. Tilting the pelvis. Tilt the pelvis forward and backward within its natural range of motion. The neutral position is between anterior and posterior tilts. 2. Neutral position to imprinted position. Inhale, Maintain the neutral pelvis position. Exhale. Engage the abdominal muscles and flatten the lower back against the mat. Inhale. Maintain the imprinted position. Exhale. Return to neutral. The abdominal muscles should activate during the process, engaging with the movement of the pelvis and the lumbar spine, pressing into the mat, while keeping the neutral position of the pelvis and spine. 3. Hip sliding. Inhale, prepare for movement. Exhale, lower the lumbar spine into the mat. Next. Inhale, maintain the imprinted position. Slide one foot along the mat, keeping the pelvis stable as the foot moves as far as possible while maintaining pelvic alignment. Exhale, return to the starting position. Repeat this movement with the other foot, and then perform the same action with both feet simultaneously. To maintain stability, practice moving while maintaining a neutral pelvis position. 4. Leg lifts. Inhale, prepare for the movement. Exhale, lift one leg off the mat while keeping the pelvis imprinted. Inhale, return the leg to the mat. Repeat the same movement with the other leg. You can also alternate leg lifts, one leg at a time, or lift both legs simultaneously, tabletop position. To maintain stability, practice these movements while keeping a neutral pelvis position.